The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that a new storm is about to strike in the lives of the main characters, as bold decisions and heated confrontations between personal and professional relationships are gradually revealed. In the next episode, Kyle Abbott will face an important decision that can completely change the situation of Abbott Communications. At the same time, the tense relationship between Phyllis and Sally will make the situation more complicated. Kyle Abbott and Victor's rage. Kyle Abbott is not an easy man to convince, but when he decides to go against the will of Victor Newman, he is betting on a big risk. Although he knows that confronting Victor is a dangerous gamble, Kyle cannot help but act when he sees Clare facing an important opportunity. With loyalty and determination to protect what he believes in, Kyle decides to support Clare in her new step. Despite knowing that Victor's disappointment in him could have serious consequences, Kyle cannot back down. He believes that this is an opportunity to prove himself and also a way to protect his relationship with Clare. However, this risk may cause him to face the wrath of Victor, one of the most powerful men at Newman Enterprises. This will certainly put not only Kyle but also the entire Abbott company to face unprecedented challenges. Phyllis and the clash with Sally. Meanwhile, Phyllis Summers has no time to relax as she continues to face troubles at Abbott Communications. One of the biggest problems that Phyllis has to deal with is criticism from Sally Spectra, who is not afraid to express her dissatisfaction with Phyllis's management style. This confrontation is not only about work but also about fierce competition for influence within the company. Sally, who has always been confident in herself, cannot pass up the opportunity to assert her position, especially when Billy Abbott seems to be considering replacing Phyllis with her. This makes Phyllis not only angry but also worried about her position at Abbott Communications. She knows that Billy may see Sally as a reliable replacement, but Phyllis has always been proud of her professionalism and management ability. She will not easily lose the first position that she has built over the years. However, Phyllis will not let herself be defeated easily. She affirms that Billy once chose her as the first, and she will not let anyone replace her. She may not be able to convince Daniel to return to Abbott Communications, but she will not give up and will continue to devote herself to making the company as strong as possible. Phyllis knows that Billy still needs her and she will do everything to help the company reach success. Tension between Phyllis and Billy. However, the relationship between Phyllis and Billy will not easily overcome the storm. Billy, although showing concern for Phyllis, his hesitation about the future of the company and the possibility of replacing Phyllis with Sally will add to the tension in their relationship. Billy begins to worry that Phyllis may leave the company after Daniel has left, which is why he thinks about choosing Sally as a potential replacement. Phyllis will not stop defending her position. She knows that, even if Billy chooses Sally one day, she is still the person he trusts and loves. She will not let anyone destroy the career she has built. Phyllis will do everything to affirm that she is still the irreplaceable choice, at the same time trying to convince Billy that she will still be the one to help the company get through this difficult period. Sally and her personal plan. While Phyllis and Billy face off in a power struggle, Sally will continue to create opportunities for herself. Although she feels a little triumphant when Billy begins to consider replacing Phyllis, Sally knows that she cannot rely on luck and must seek opportunities herself. Sally will continue to contribute to the company but will not forget to pursue her own interests. Sally will continue to seek advancement, and in the current tense situation, she sees this as a good time to grab Billy's attention. She not only wants to replace Phyllis, but also sees this as an opportunity to prove that she can do the job of a leader. While things are tense and challenging right now, the decisions the characters make in the coming days will undoubtedly shape the future of Abbott Communications. Kyle, Phyllis, Sally, and Billy will face major challenges as they choose between love, career and loyalty. Their relationships will impact not only the company but also the life-changing decisions of each of them. The story continues to unfold with surprises and complex relationships emerging. The Young and the Restless will never be short of tense and dramatic moments as the characters struggle with themselves and those around them to find their path to success. Tune in to see who will win this power struggle and what love affairs or close relationships will be destroyed along the way. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that in the upcoming episodes, our characters will face tough decisions and intense internal struggles. Phyllis, after failing to convince Daniel to return to Abbott Communications, will have to find a way to keep her position in the company. However, her story will revolve around more than just work, but also complicated relationships with her loved ones, especially Billy and Daniel. Meanwhile, Kyle and Claire will make important decisions in their relationship, facing opposition from their families and unforeseen consequences from Victor Newman. Phyllis and the new decision. Phyllis Summers has been fighting tirelessly to keep her position at Abbott Communications, especially when Daniel decides to leave the company. Despite her failure to convince Daniel to return, Phyllis is still committed to doing her best to make the company one of the strongest units. She knows that this company is where she belongs, and despite the great challenges she faces, she is determined not to give up. The relationship between Phyllis and Billy Abbott continues to be strained. Billy, while always appreciating Phyllis, cannot help but worry that she might leave the company after Daniel's departure. This causes Phyllis to assert that she is still Billy's number one choice, and that no one can replace her position. Despite facing difficulties and criticism from others, Phyllis does not falter. She will fight to maintain her role and prove that no one can replace her in this company. However, Phyllis's determination puts her in a more stressful situation than ever, as Billy faces great pressure from both the company and his personal relationships. What will Phyllis have to do to maintain her position in this volatile environment? How will Billy feel about Phyllis's determination and the changes at Abbott Communications? Daniel and the grief of loss. While Phyllis is trying to maintain her position at Abbott Communications, Daniel is also struggling with his own complicated emotions. After the death of Heather Stevens and the turmoil in his family, Daniel feels lost. He used to be a creative person, but now, after the tragic events and stress in his family, he feels unmotivated and disoriented. Tessa Porter, Daniel's close friend, will be the one to help him find his lost creativity. She will try to spark new ideas in him, helping him overcome his stagnation at work. Although Daniel still feels blocked, Tessa continues to support him, hoping that he will find the motivation to continue creating. Finally, Daniel will decide on a plan that he needs Tessa's help to carry out. Tessa will not hesitate to support him, but will this plan succeed when Daniel is still struggling with sadness and difficulties in his personal life? Kyle and Claire, deciding to live together. While Phyllis and Daniel are facing their own difficulties, Kyle Abbott and Claire are facing a big decision in their relationship. After some arguments and conflicts, Claire has finally decided to live together with Kyle. However, before taking this step, Claire wants to make sure Kyle is still steadfast in his decision. Kyle has made it clear to Claire that living together is a step worth taking. Despite knowing that living together could increase the tension in the family, especially when Victor Newman never stops controlling everything, Kyle still believes that this is the right decision. However, Claire still needs assurance from Kyle that he will always stand by her, even in the face of Victor's inevitable revenge. Victoria Newman, as always, is on her mother's side and will not hesitate to warn Kyle about angering Victor. If Kyle and Claire continue to live under the same roof, Victor will not let it go. This will certainly lead to a harsh reaction from Victor, and may cause serious consequences for both Kyle and Claire. But is Kyle really worried about Victor's revenge, or is he ready to confront this tycoon? Claire will not give up easily, though. She wants to know that Kyle is really willing to face any challenge with her, and that he will never give up on her even when things get tough. She hopes that this step will be a positive change for their relationship, but will it really bring happiness, or is it just a risky decision? Victor and the inevitable consequences. Victor Newman, who has always controlled everything in the family and the company, will certainly not stand idly by if Kyle and Claire decide to live under each other's roof. Victor's revenge will be inevitable. With his domineering and powerful nature, Victor will probably find a way to put pressure on Kyle, even using extreme methods to force him to return to the Newman family's ways. Kyle knows that the consequences could be dire, but he still decides to move forward with Claire. He believes that their relationship is worth the risk and he will not back down, even if he has to face hostility from Victor. Kyle and Claire's relationship, Phyllis and Billy's struggles, and Tessa's sadness and support for Daniel will all create dramatic and emotional plots in the upcoming episodes of The Young and the Restless. Our characters will face difficult decisions and unforeseen challenges as they embark on a new journey filled with danger, challenges and opportunities. The Young and the Restless continues to prove that nothing is certain in the world of complex relationships, power and love. Who will emerge victorious in this confrontation? Who will suffer the consequences of poor decisions? All will be revealed in the upcoming episodes. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that big decisions are coming, with plenty of tense confrontations and difficult situations for the characters to face. In the upcoming episode, Claire and Kyle will be at a crucial juncture in their relationship, while interference from the Newman family and the surrounding intrigue could change everything. Can they overcome all obstacles to live happily together, or will everything be torn apart by Victor's ruthless plans? Claire and the decision to live together. Claire, after days of thinking and pondering, has finally made a big decision in her relationship with Kyle. She is about to inform him that she is willing to go ahead with Kyle's proposal to live together, if he sticks to his guns. This decision was not an easy one for Claire, as she understood that living together would not only affect their personal relationships but could also create unpredictable conflicts, especially since the Newman family had always had complex and powerful relationships. Nevertheless, Claire decided to share her thoughts with Kyle, as she believed that this was the right move. However, she could not help but worry about the reactions from Kyle's family, especially from Victor. She wanted to know if Kyle was truly determined in this decision and was ready to face any challenges in the future. Although Kyle had made it clear that this was worth the risk, Claire still needed his assurance that he would always stand by her, no matter the difficulties and dangers. Victoria stands up for Kyle when Claire decided to inform Kyle about their plans to live together. The reactions from the Newman family could not help but appear. Victor, who has always protected the interests of the family and kept power in his hands, will certainly not be happy to know that Kyle and Claire are moving towards the decision to live together. Kyle's choice to live with Claire under the same roof can be seen as a challenge to Victor, who has always considered himself the head of all decisions in the Newman family. Victoria, despite always being under pressure from her father, has a different stance. She knows the importance of family and is willing to protect the people she loves. When Victor begins to plot to separate Kyle and Claire, Victoria will stand up to her father to protect Kyle. With her power and influence in the family, Victoria does not hesitate to stand up against Victor and protect Kyle's freedom from his dark schemes. The tense relationship between Victor and Victoria becomes increasingly difficult to control, when Victoria decides to stand by Kyle and protect his interests. She will warn Kyle of the dangers ahead, especially Victor's plans for him. However, Kyle and Claire still face a big test. Can they survive Victor's ruthless revenge? Pregnancy announcement. What will happen? A surprising situation may arise when Claire informs Kyle that she is pregnant. If this turns out to be true, it could put a stop to all of Victor's schemes. A child would be a strong bond, creating a complete family and making all of Victor's cruel plans meaningless. But will Victor accept this change and let the child have a peaceful life, or will he continue to find ways to tear the family apart? Victor, who has always aimed to maintain power and control in the family, may not be able to stand still when things do not go his way. The child will be a weakness that Victor will seek to exploit. However, with Victoria's protection and Kyle's determination, will Victor have enough power to destroy this family's happiness? Kyle and Claire, are they strong enough to face all the challenges? Despite Victor's threats and inevitable revenge, Kyle stands firm. He assures Claire that the decision to live together and start a new family is worth the risk. Kyle knows that, despite the opposition and plots from the Newman family, he will stick to his choice. However, Claire is not entirely sure that things will go smoothly. She wants to make sure that Kyle will continue to stand by her and protect their family, even in the face of unforeseen difficulties. Claire also realizes that, no matter what they do, Victor's plots will always be a potential threat. She needs to prepare for the worst, and may have to make important decisions to protect the happiness of the whole family. The story of Claire, Kyle, and the Newman family is entering a challenging and dramatic phase. The relationship between Kyle and Claire will face many difficulties, from Victor's interference to the intrigues of family members. Will they be able to overcome all obstacles and build a happy family, or will it all be torn apart by forces beyond their control? With Victoria's protection and Kyle's determination, perhaps this family will have a chance to overcome the challenges and find their way to happiness. However, as always on The Young and the Restless, nothing is certain. Stay tuned to see if Claire and Kyle can make their decision to live together, or if they will face Victor's inevitable revenge.